Coronado Naval Air Station in San Diego was designed for speed. Top Gun was filmed here. 4 aircraft carrier groups call it home. But today, this tarmac hosts a different kind of fast-paced action as the race at the base welcomes the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup. The battle here is among 3 pilots with very different backgrounds.
Thank you very much.
All are determined to grab one elusive prize, the MX-5 Cup Championship, and with it, a chance to take another step up the Mazda Speed driver development ladder. The race at the base, part of the Coronado Festival of Speed, and it's next on the Mazda Motorsports Hour. Welcome to Coronado Naval Air Station in San Diego, California for the Coronado Speed Festival and the race at the base, the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup, part of the Mazda Motorsports Hour. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin. Championship road racer Randy Popestal join me for the call here in a couple of moments. And we're introducing Stacy Pates, the newest member of our team. She'll have our pit road coverage here this weekend. 15 years they've been doing this event at Coronado. First time, though, for a professional event as part of the weekend. And the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup drivers and teams happy to be a part of this. We're getting down to the end of the season. The championship's still in play, and 3 drivers still have an opportunity to win the title. The driver who's third in the standings had a tough week last week at Virginia International Raceway. Stacy caught up with him earlier to talk a little bit about the ups and downs that have faced John Dean.
Rick here with John Dean, and first of all, talk a little bit about why this season's been a little crazy for you guys.
Well, we're a new team. Everybody knows that. It's been difficult, you know, with the race 1 at Sebring. You know, we had the fuel issue, and you know, just trying to learn the car and learn the suspension settings and going to tracks that we haven't been to before. It's been difficult. These other teams have been out here a long time. And, you know, with penalties and issues and cars crashed and myself driving across the country with the rig, it's been exhausting.
Let's talk about that, driving cross country from Virginia here to California. What's that like mentally for you?
It's just exhausting. We finished up there. We packed up. It was super hot. You know, just putting in 10, 11 hours of driving behind the wheel of the toter home there, so basically a semi-truck, and then getting into these cars. It's not exactly the easiest transition, but it's fun. It's just it wears on you. You know, I'm ready to get home. We've been on the road for like 3 weeks now.
And not just the drive across country, but what had to be going through your mind knowing that on the last lap what went down with your car?
Relief. It sounds strange, but we've had issues all season with just unlucky stuff on the car, and I was kind of happy to not have to drive it this weekend. You know, I got Dean Copeland's spare car this weekend, and we've gone through it to make sure nothing's broken on it, and I haven't even really changed the setup on it. Kind of running what he had, just doing some tweaks and tunes here. This track is really awkward. I've never set up for a motocross track before, and it's kind of what we are doing here. You know, it's like we're jumping the car through this track, but it's really bumpy out there.
Do you think Dean would rent me a car and then you and I could race?
You want this one?
Sure. You want your other one?
I don't know. I don't know if I do right now.
All right, as the field gets set to roll here at Coronado Naval Air Station at this temporary circuit, John Dean ready to strap into his machine. One of 3 drivers with a realistic hope for the championship. 3 races to go in the 2012 season, Randy Popes. Stephen McAleer, though, very consistent, 25 points is his advantage.
Aramel Cassian, the same story. John Dean, Christian Shimshak, up and down, Elliott Skier. You never know what's going to happen.
One of the young drivers who's part of the Mazda Road to Indy, Connor DeFilippi. He's won a bunch of races in Star Mazda, and before that F2000. He may move up to Indy Lights next year. He'll make his first start in a Fendered sports car here today at the Naval Air Station North Island course in San Diego. 1.7 miles around this temporary circuit.
This racetrack is thrown down on an airport just like the old days. It's very bumpy.
Very bumpy. A lot of changes to this course as well. How about championship contender Aramel Cassian?
Being second in points, describe how you got to that and how you keep that going.
It's been a season of good finishes and staying out of trouble and you know, trying to do a late season surge here to close up and get the lead in championship. This track here looks like it's going to be a bit of a struggle for us, but we're working hard to try to close the gap further before we get to Road Atlanta, where we know we have an advantage.
All right, Randy Popst, how about these Mazda keys to the race today?
Well, the temporary circuit changes constantly as you drive. Nobody knows the track also, and it can be so rough because it's not built for a racetrack. It's an old airstrip, very old, and very, very bumpy. And those movable barriers, we'll see the cars making the track wider throughout the race. You just never know what you're gonna have. But a lot of the corners are 90 degrees, which involve stop and go, not so much the big sweepers, and nobody knows the track. Everybody's seeing it for the first time, so you've got to learn the setup and the course very quickly.
Talking to Jason Saney, former champion here, team manager for C.J. Wilson's bunch of cars, and he said, you know, this reminds me a lot of my home circuit, the old Cleveland Grand Prix Burke Lakefront Airport course, so they were trying to apply some of the lessons learned there in years past. Field starting to roll here at Coronado, the race at the base, first time ever for a professional event here at this venue. Stephen McAleer, our points leader on pole, Elliott Skier, the Mazda Speed driver development young pilot, alongside John Dean and his teammate Christian Shimshak. Now, Dean running that rented machine from Dean Copeland's group out of Maryland. Aaron Malkasian second in points, and Nathaniel Sparks. They'll make up row number 3. Nathaniel's 3 car, now part of the 6 Sideways team also. There's Connor DeFilippi. He qualifies 7th in the C.J. Wilson car, and the veteran Tim Probert in one of the Alara entries alongside. Brent Mosing will start 9th in the 10 car, and Steve Bottom, West Coast regular in the series, in his own 44, will line up in the 10th spot. Christine Crane back with us first time in quite a while from the Pacific Northwest, and Emily Tominovich in the True car 19. They will make up row number 6. Charles Paquin will start 19th in the 27 car, one of the other C.J. Wilson entries. And then we've got a nice gaggle of Skip Barber Mazda Speed Pro Challenge entries. West Coast young hotshot Kenton Koch. Points leader in this group, Brian Hickson, the Knight, Meeker, and Chin. So 5 of the Mazda Speed Pro Challenge entries.
And look at those tire barriers. They're not going to sit in that same place the whole race. They're going to get moved wider, and it's going to be part of the challenge.
All right, before we go green, let's head downstairs to Stacy Pates.
John Dean had actually set the pole by lap 4 in qualifying, but what happened? Because today he's starting row 2 in 3rd place. He told me the chicane got freer and the track opened up a little bit. Well, I also asked him, how do you discard that mental weight of knowing you should have had the pole and the additional points? He said, you know, it's a race. I've already forgotten by the time I step in the car, and all I'm thinking about is winning.
Wow, that guy sounds like a winner, because that's how it is for me. I've got this kind of ADD. You know, if it went wrong in qualifying, by the time I line up for the standing start, that's gone. And now we got a race.
SCCA Pro Racing officials bringing the field into place. 18 cars strong. We'll do the standing start on the grid here at the Coronado Naval Air Station. Randy Popst, on concrete, is this different for these cars and drivers?
The concrete is a real high traction surface, and it's going to put a lot of stress on the MX-5 drivetrains when they drop that clutch.
Replay XD onboard looks today from several of our cars, including the 16 of John Dean, one of our championship contenders. Dean starting back in row number 2 here today. As the signboard goes up, 5 seconds till we go green here in San Diego, California.
The lights come on. When they go out, bang, you drop the clutch and away we go. Looks like everybody's moving on the start of the MX-5 Cup.
Elliott Skier gets the drop on Stephen McAleer. No, he doesn't. That's McAleer to the lead, heading into 1, and they're 3 wide behind him.
And he's trying to take this championship, and he's in the right place. Getting the pole is a great move when you're late in the season, and they're off across the bumps at the Coronado Air Station.
We've seen this so many times this year. The 6 Sideways teammates of Christian Shimshak and John Dean trying to muscle their way by the C.J. Wilson cars, and one of them has done that. That's Dean bolting to the lead already.
My goodness, he looks like he's in a different class. He just really hooked up in that chicane and moved right to the lead.
Down the backstretch now, we showed you the track map earlier. Officials putting a chicane in place with those tire barriers, and we'll see how these teams navigate through this. All of this to try to slow these MX-5 machines down before they hit the right-hander at the end of the backstretch.
Wow, that's an autocross maneuver. I'd be good there, Rick. I could rip through that chicane. And I think John Dean's doing that. Look at him up there leading this race.
On board with Aaron Malkasian in the 11 car, the Replay XD onboard look, and the car starting to settle in just a little bit, heading back to the front straightaway on lap number 1.
And we're seeing some wiggles out of that C.J. Wilson car. I think the bumps are kind of throwing him around. You can see his setup's not absorbing that well. He's losing the rear.
Down the main straightaway into the right-handed turn 1, challenging for the lead is Elliott Skier on the high side. He won't get the job done. Aaron Malkasian is 4th. Remember, he was 2nd in points coming in here today. He One lap on the board, running order top of your screen here in San Diego, California. Beautiful day for racing, great venue for this. Quite a challenge for the organizers here at Coronado to prepare a track that's suitable for pro racing. This has been a vintage event for 15 years. First time we've had professional racing here.
Yeah, and it's a great site here in San Diego, California, and I think there's a huge crowd out for these races. They love the vintage stuff. Now they get the excitement of a pro race. Look at them cut through those barrels. That's a fast maneuver. I'll bet they're in third gear going through there. And then they got a break for the 90. Nobody's taken one out yet, though, but look at the markers. It's a pylon.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think this course is going to stay the same. It didn't in qualifying.
Much like any temporary circuit, a little different from a street course because of the concrete and the bumpiness, perhaps, but there's no banking here, obviously, and some of the corners look a little bit off camera.
Look at the bumping, too, the bouncing. These cars are getting a workout. Fortunately, the MX-5s are street-based, so they're going to be better suited to a course at this rough. John Dean called it a motocross track. Look at Skier. He is all over John Dean. John Dean made a good run on the first lap, but Elliott Skier is right on his tail, and right now McAleer is just a spectator.
Remember that John Dean is not running the car he has spent most of the season in. This is a car rented from Dean Copeland's group. Their backup car, renumbered and relettered, of course. John Dean just a week ago at Virginia International Raceway had that hard lick into the Armco coming down the hill to complete the race, and you know, that ended his day and may have ended his championship hopes. Right now, though, in the lead in that Copeland car.
John Dean's rented Copeland car looks really planted to me so far, and he's put it in the lead, but he's not getting away anymore. He's funny. He was really strong those first. And Skier down the inside.
Elliott Skier trying for the lead down low. Looks like he may have it. They go 3 wide. McAleer right there. Here comes Aaron Malkasian. Those top 4 really bumping and banging.
And they're still racing. Skier made a great surprise move, but it ain't over yet.
Not at all. Good battling up front. Best side-by-side racing we've had just about all season in the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup. Onto the front straightaway, and Elliott Skier takes the lead back.
Wow, and look, John Dean's getting freight trained because he got hung out wide. That was very cool, and it's what can happen on an airport circuit where the turns are so wide.
3 wide, even 4 wide, heading to the entrance to 1, and here comes Nate Sparks trying to close in and make it a 6-man battle up front.
This lead bunch is tight.
Great racing here at the Coronado Naval Air Station. Wow, what a battle up front early in the going. The Mazda Motorsports Hour, the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup will continue in a moment.
Hi, my name is Stephen McAleer. I just want to thank the troops for everything that you guys do. I also want to thank you for putting on a fantastic weekend here at Coronado, and it's a privilege to be racing on the naval base. Thank you very much, guys.
And those who serve our country so admirably, thrilled to have the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup here. A lot of fans coming by to see the displays and so forth. There's a cone in the middle of the racetrack. Yep. Randy, this is what we may see the rest of the day as we watch John Dean back in the lead here early in the going. You run over one of those cones, knock it out into the course, it may stay there for a while.
You bet, and it's big enough to do some damage. When you hit one of those things at 100 miles an hour, you're going to lose a radiator. Looks like we got John Dean back in the lead. He was able to overtake Elliott Skier. It's got a really great race thus far. These top 5 cars are the guys that have been doing it all year, and they're really good at it in the MX-5s. There's another cone. Bang, Aaron got it, knocked it into Shimshak.
Who sits in 5th spot right now. Your leader is his teammate, John Dean. 2nd spot belongs to young Elliott Skier, age 17, the Mazda Speed Driver Development candidate this season, racing in front of his home fans. He's from right up the road here. Told me earlier this weekend how cool it was to sleep in his own bed at night on a race weekend. He's got a lot of family and friends here. It would mean a ton to Elliott Skier if he could bag a victory at his home racetrack. Aaron Malkasian, meantime, trying to hang on to 4th spot, but Shimshak to the inside looks like he has it.
He hung it out, got a pylon and some dust, and a home race is a real motivator for these drivers. And Nathaniel Sparks here, we've seen him come on strong with the 6 Sideways team. He's right in the thick of it. He's right on Aaron Malkasian's tail.
Our Replay XD onboard views giving you a great sense of how quick these MX-5 Cup machines are. Into the chicane, temporarily set up here on the backstretch, and then down into the right-hander, which heads you back toward the front straightaway.
Rick, that chicane is fast. I'm watching that, I'm going, I'd like to try that. In fact, this whole thing reminds me...
That's a 6th gear flat-out corner, a set of corners, probably,
would be
right?
for me, buddy. But this course reminds me of my autocross roots. You got pylons or some of the corners. The drivers are having to figure out the line as they go. And look here, you've still got to track out to the wall right along that part of the course. It's hairy and it's constantly changing. But I love the fact that the line's not well defined. So the drivers are picking it up for themselves.
Does it give you an opportunity to move around maybe and try different things because visually you don't see a path that's kind of worn in?
Absolutely it does. And it also offers more passing opportunities because one guy might set up a corner for a good exit, which leaves an opportunity on the way in. Right now, John Dean is just making tracks. He's gapped a little bit to Skier and McAleer.
7 laps are on the board. Running order top of your screen as always. Skier and McAleer, the two C.J. Wilson teammates, running second and third behind John Dean at the moment. Dean has opened up a significant advantage as he heads back into the chicane.
Look at that. That is quick down through there. I'd be quick there. I'd like to drift through that. Then hard on the brakes into that 90. Skier was just hot to trot. He was all over John Dean, trying to put some pressure on him. And now he's backed up a little bit. I think John Dean is really liking that Dean Copeland car. There goes a barrel.
The national tree of the southeastern United States. We see them, of course, all over the interstates all the time, getting punted here at this temporary circuit at Coronado Naval Air Station. Randy, talk to me a little bit about the science of sprint racing. These guys only have 45 minutes to get the job done here. You can't really lay back in a Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup event, can you?
No, you've got to be flat out, but at the same time, you can't make a mistake that'll hurt your car. It's a fine line to walk, where you're pushing at the limit, which Skier is doing right now to try and stay ahead of McAleer, who wants that championship. But any mistake is very costly because, again, there's no time to make it up. That's the beauty of a sprint race, the 100% no mistakes effort that has to be made.
Up the backstretch one more time. Skier in the 17 has about a 3-car length lead over his teammate McAleer. John Dean, the race leader, has opened up a 12 car lengths or more. Back through that chicane one more time.
You wouldn't want to get that chicane wrong because you'd be whacking those tires at a high rate of speed.
That right-hander, Christian Shimshak in fourth, trying to reel in that battle for second spot now, and McAleer has gotten around Skier for second place.
McAleer come all the way over from Scotland to build his racing career in the MX-5 Cup. He really wants that Mazda development ladder ride that goes to the championship in the series.
Starting to pull away from his 17-year-old teammate. The Replay XD onboard look, taking a look back at the third place car. Now driven by Elliott Skier down the front straightaway into that 90-degree turn one. And there's not much in the way of reference points at a track like this, is there?
No, especially if they get knocked out of the way. It could change at any time. There's a good long front straightaway and a fast corner at the end of the straight. The average speed actually looks to me to be pretty high here. And the way these corners are connected, they're like long S's. They're just one into the next, into the next. And look at Kenton Koch. He's right up in the MX-5 battle.
High school student also like Elliott Skier, driving the 91. He's a West Coast-based driver, hoping to run the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup full-time. Maybe his opportunity comes with the C.J. Wilson team. Jason Saney is the team manager, former series champion, and he's got an interesting perspective on what it takes to run well at a temporary circuit like Coronado.
Jason Saney, pretty familiar with racing on, I guess, surfaces, you would say, like this one, in Cleveland in particular. How do you set up the car for this race?
Well, it's really unique situation like this, an airport runway where we have concrete, asphalt on the taxiways. So you have the pavement changes, you have a lot of rough surfaces. I also actually started out autocrossing, which we normally do on bases like this. So I have a lot of experience with it, and it's a unique challenge. You need the car to have stability because there's a lot of directional changes, but then you need it to work over the bumps. So it's been a challenge. We've made some changes this last session that really worked. So just keep trying to apply my knowledge, and fingers crossed the changes I make work.
In what ways does a course like this help a driver's confidence and help show them what kind of driver they are?
Well, you know, it's definitely a courage type of track where it's high speed, there's transitions, but it also requires patience. So we used to call it, in autocross, we used to call it controlled aggression. So these guys really need to be aggressive in the chicanes and in those fast portions, but then they have to have a lot of patience in the tight corners. So as a driver, that's a definite building block. That's something that you really need to do all the time. So this just is a great lesson, and this just reminds me of Cleveland, where I grew up and had some great success in 2007 in the MX-5 Cup in Cleveland. So hopefully our team can emulate some of that this weekend.
Controlled aggression. He put it very well. That's what a sprint race is.
And you can take full advantage of the quality, durability, and reliability of these Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup machines with that controlled aggression. John Dean is your leader. We'll be right back at Coronado.
This is Ara Malkassian with Alara Racing. I want to say thank you to our troops for all that they do for us and letting us come to play on their playground here.
One of the things that's been so much fun, Randy Popst, about being here this weekend at the Coronado Naval Air Station, the folks have just embraced this event. I mean, we've been welcomed everywhere we've gone. It's been great to be a part of this. Aaron Malkasian trying to hang on to his position here. He's got his hands full at the moment. Meantime, look at the barrels go flying here as these drivers come down the backstretch.
That chicane's going to be a little quicker next time through.
Wow.
You know, my dad came into Coronado Air Station when he returned from Korea, too.
Really?
So thanks, Dad, for serving our country. And John Dean up there trying to serve himself up a win. He's looking good.
Dean is out in front. Take a look at what happened with that barrel a moment ago. Who was it who caught that and sent it flying? Aha!
Oh, looks like the number 2 man, McAleer, knocked it right in front of Skier, who really put it over the fences.
Well, we've seen that on the highways and byways of this great nation from time to time, and we're seeing a chunk of it here today as well. Indy mark a temporary course with the cones and with those highway barrels in places. We're kind of joking about it a little bit. The good news is they move kind of easily. They won't damage your car if you do get into one.
Apparently not. I'll bet that scared the living daylights out of Elliott when he saw that thing square in the face, you know? But he got away with it. The tires are going to be a lot harder. This is where you make the time on this course, by being quick in that chicane.
Do you think in these cars you can take it flat out, or will you have to at least let off going into the first turn?
I'm sure they're slowing down for that. I see John picking different lines there, going under the pylon and around the barrel. The course is definitely changing all the time. Something that I think really taxes the driver's brain as he tries to figure the best line.
Up onto the front straightaway, Dean with about a 5-car length advantage. That's the Projection Solutions 16 car out of the 6 sideways stable. But this is not Dean's normal ride, as we mentioned at the top of the telecast today. One of Dean Copeland's cars, their backup car, John Dean wrecked his primary car last week at Virginia International Raceway. Very tight turnaround for these drivers and teams this week, less than a week to get from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast and get ready to race. That's an added challenge that the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup teams have really thrived on, I think, this week.
Well, you know, that kind of thing helps the cream rise to the top.
Yeah.
And sometimes the drivers complain about a schedule that's that tight, but at the same time, the organizers are trying to make the best possible schedule for the series. And it's a balancing act. And to get to a site like the Coronado Air Station, which is so great, and VIR, which is so great, sometimes you've got to do that journey back between the tracks flat out.
A tough 90-degree, tough 180-degree horseshoe, really, at the end of the back straightaway. Put you into a little S's section onto the front stretch here, this 1.7-mile circuit. And just for a little bit of comparison, if you're familiar with Lime Rock Park in Connecticut, that's about 1.6 miles. So pretty much the same length. Couldn't be more different in terms of surface and elevation change and all of that. But in terms of length, this is a short road course.
It's a short road course, but it's relatively fast because the corners are not that slow.
Yeah.
The cars keep a kind of high average speed. In many ways, it is like a big autocross. As we watch the second pack, Malkasian has slipped all the way back into the jaws of Sparks, and Kenton Koch in that Skip Barber Mazda Speed Challenge car right with him.
Doing a great job right in there with some of the regulars in this series. Let's get on board the Replay XD onboard look here, looking ahead at Aaron Malkasian's machine. On board here with Nathaniel Sparks into the right-hander.
You can see how wide it is, and you can see how rough it is. They're on the taxiways now, turning left, going across and back onto the circuit on another runway. That's where the most rough portions are, those transitions.
And then, of course, there's a little kink as you come off the corner that dumps you onto the backstretch. Let's get a look now at that chicane with the tires. Wow, that is a narrow entry gate, isn't it?
Yeah, they're flying through there. That's at least third gear, but they've got a brake immediately afterward. But I just see that, and I just want to try that maneuver. You should be skimming the mirrors on those tires, both sides.
Leaders coming up on some lap traffic, and John Dean's got his hands full. Here comes Stephen McAleer on the inside, side by side into one with lap traffic on the outside.
McAleer into the lead, trying to hold it down into turn one. Puts John Dean back where he belongs in second place. McAleer going for that championship.
I'm not sure John Dean agrees that's where he belongs. He's going to try to come right back here at Coronado.
You can see him using the gears. He's up to third gear through that left-hand sweeper, and he's going to want it back. You can see as he catches McAleer, he's all over him. He's setting up wide.
McAleer, very consistent driver, never gives up. A guy you can count on to be right there as we get closer to the checkered flag. More to come from Coronado.
We'd like to thank all of our troops for your wonderful service.
And thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying yourself at the Coronado Speed Fest.
Fans of all ages enjoying the static displays here at the Coronado Naval Air Station. Earlier, Stacy caught up with the event's executive director to find out some of the history here.
Fleet Week San Diego has been a big deal to this community since 1996. Joining us now, the executive director, Alex Squires, to tell us more about the week's events here in San Diego.
Well, Fleet Week is actually 2 weeks this year, but it is a way of integrating the military here, who we honor and pay tribute to, along with the community, regionally and sometimes internationally, coming out to see our sailors and Marines and Coast Guardsmen.
And for the first time, you're seeing the Pro Series, the MX-5 Cup. What does that mean?
It's very exciting. This is the Coronado Speed Festival, our race at the base, and having the Pro Series here, along with the Historics, just adds to the excitement for all of our military attendees, along with the public.
Yeah, Randy Bopes, it's been a great weekend here at the Coronado Naval Air Station. Again, we said that, you know, the Navy, the folks who operate the base and put this event on have just embraced the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup. They've welcomed us. It's been a treat to be here.
There are some pretty impressive machines in the paddock there for the military, too.
Christian Shimshak having an impressive day, but Airmal Cajun, the championship contender, looks like he may be done for the day. He pulls it in. Ken Murillo in no hurry to come over and talk to the team principal.
It looks like it's over there, and one man's pain is another man's pleasure. That's a big boost for McAleer.
Now remember, in the first 2 laps, Era, who was second in points coming in, was running up in the top group. Our Replay XD onboard look. Uh-oh. Sounds like gearbox problems.
Something went bang, yeah. Oh, that's tough. You know what, the bumps on this circuit are going to absolutely tax the drivetrain. Maybe it's related to that.
Airmal Cajun and his group at Alara Motorsports, they prepare great Mazda MX-5 Cup machines. You can hear the engine still very strong, but occasionally some things come disconnected in that drivetrain, as Randy mentioned. Lead group, meantime, through the S's, heading back to the front straightaway. Lap starting to wind down here. McAleer and John Dean running 1-2. Christian Shimshak right there as well, trying to contend for the win late in the going.
And they are the lead group. These 4 drivers are just all by themselves out in front. John Dean has slipped back. It's interesting to see how the MX-5's performance can vary during the race, which I'm going to say is probably due to how the drivers are treating their tires. If they run them too hard, they'll get a little hot and greasy, and they're going to be backing up for a while. But I think they can go a little easy and get the tires back under them.
You can tell that there is a lot of rubber down here. It's been pretty warm this weekend. Airmal Cajun behind the wall. Let's get down to Stacy, find out what happened.
A championship contender unable to finish this race here on Coronado Island. What happened?
We lost the transmission. I think with all the bumps and everything on the track, we just gave it too much of a workout, and we lost drive in the transmission.
Noticeably upset, but you still took a moment to wave to the camera. Why is it still important to show folks at home that you're here for a reason?
You know, we're the lucky people in the world to be out here racing these great Mazdas at this great event with the Navy hosting us and everything, and you never want to lose sight of that.
Good for you. That's the big picture. We're putting on a show, but boy, that hurts.
It does.
Because he had a real shot, and he still does, but this is going to not help him out.
2 races to go in the season to settle the title fight at Road Atlanta in a couple of weeks. And if you don't score many points here today, Airmal Cajun's bid probably will not succeed in 2012. Up front, though, great battle for this race victory and for the season championship. Stephen McAleer still out in front. He's the points leader coming in. John Dean right behind him. Elliott Skier runs in 3rd spot. 4th spot belongs to the other 6 sideways machine. That's the car of Christian Shimshak, who's had a very nice season as well. Down the backstretch one more time.
That is a tight bunch, and they are just whipping those ponies as hard as they can. They got about 200 horse out of the 4 cylinders in these MX-5s, and the drivers have a 6-speed gearbox, and they're using it. On this course, you got to go up, down, up, down, up, down, and some of those shifts, if you get a shift right on one of those jumps, it's going to be a problem, and that's probably what happened to Era.
McAleer out in front of the C.J. Wilson machine. Dean is second. The Mazda Speed driver development young gun, Elliott Skier, runs 3rd in front of Shimshak, back onto the front straightaway now. John Dean, even though this is his first year in the series, here's Kenton Cook, who continues to lead the Skip Barber Mazda Speed Pro Challenge Group. He's doing a great job, hopes to run the MX-5 Cup full-time next year. Can you save some of your tires for late in the race? Is that what Dean's doing here?
Absolutely. You got to pace yourself. And look at Coke. He's running strong. He's gotten clear of Nathaniel Sparks, who's a good driver and a good car.
Kenton Cook, very impressive, no question about that. Trying to get himself on the Mazda Speed driver development ladder.
Hello, my name is Brian Lunt, and I want to thank everyone for coming to the Coronado Speed Fest. And thank you so much for supporting the troops.
Stay tuned for more action on the Mazda Motorsports Hour.
Welcome back to Coronado. Trouble for Connor DeFilippi in the Mod Space CJ Wilson entry. One of the stars of the Star Mazda Championship. He'd run as high as 6th in that car, his first ever sports car start. Looks as though his day may be over. Let's take a look at what happened.
Well, here we are coming out onto the long straightaway, and he's got it all sideways and tags the wall. He's having whoa, and he's lucky he didn't get collected by that Mazda Speed Challenge car.
Wow, Connor DeFilippi excited about running this. He's a West Coast young gun as well. Said, hey, I want to see what's going to happen in one of these sports cars. This may be where I end up after my time in open wheel racing, but his day unfortunately won't end with the checkered flag.
It's difficult for guys to go from formula cars to real cars because real cars are 1,000 pounds heavier. Even a little MX-5, which is a lightweight super sports car, is far heavier than one of those little formula cars. On the other hand, going the other way is easy.
On board with John Dean in the 6 Sideways 16 car, our Replay XD onboard look as Dean tries to get back into contention here.
You can see him running through that gearbox.
Hey, we talk a lot about Mazda's unique ladder system, the Mazda Speed Driver Development Ladder, and of course the Mazda Road to Indy, but ladders start at the ground level. That commitment to grassroots racing is the subject of our Climbing the Ladder piece this week. Each weekend, more Mazdas are road raced than any other brand, so it's no surprise that hundreds of Mazda drivers filled the paddock at this year's SCCA runoffs at Road America. It's also no surprise Mark Webber was there. Mark's a motorsports photographer for Mazda, including the MX-5 Cup, but Mark wasn't just shooting this particular weekend. He was driving, something he's done here for 31 years. His Mazda MX-5 carried the number 50.0 to commemorate a couple of personal milestones.
I like to keep track of where I've been and where I'm going, and I decided that if I planned it just so, I could make this race, which will be Sunday, my 50th runoffs race and my 500th race all at the same time.
Many of the Mazda racers on hand at the runoffs enjoyed a banquet put on by Mazda and Mazda Speed. A chance to trade stories with fellow drivers and Mazda executives as well. All part of Mazda's commitment to grassroots racing nationwide.
Well, motorsports is part of our DNA. It's in our heritage. It's part of our fabric. I mean, a lot of manufacturers will get involved in motorsports because it's something they think that they need to do. Well, we do it because we just happen to race, but at the same time period, happen to sell cars as a result of it. And it's very, very important for us. It's important in everything we do, and it's also important to the management team because, as you all know, we have a lot of people that are personally involved in motorsports.
Mazda puts a huge amount of support into the SCCA runoffs, amateur racing at all levels. A lot of the drivers we have here today at Coronado, Randy Popes, are graduates of that program.
Well, and these MX-5s and the RX-8s were just made for driving fast and having a lot of fun.
Problems
More
for
trouble.
Christian Shimshak in the 34 car. Our Replay XD onboard look, not racing.
He's
Shimshak
not happy.
Dead stick there. And he is going to get rolled away from the course to a safe area. So Christian Shimshak, who had a shot at the title as well coming in, his day ends prematurely. That leaves everything in the hands of his teammate John Dean in the 16 car.
Boy, and it's getting hot and heavy at the front here. McAleer, Dean, and Skier, you could throw a sheet over them. Look at that shot, 3 wide.
Down into the right-hander. One more look at what happened to Shimshak as he comes out of the corner.
Okay, he's gone up to 3rd gear there. It's all looking good. Up into 4th. Uh-oh.
Missed a shift
and
there.
Nobody
looks like.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was those bumps. Caused some trouble in the drivetrains from the look of it.
As stout as these MX-5 Cup machines are, sometimes, and a lot of drivers had told me that over the course of the weekend, the shifting between first clearing the bumps and then the asphalt to concrete and back again puts a lot of stress and strain on the drive components.
Oh, we can see it. John Dean called it a motocross track.
Yeah.
And I think it's taking its toll on the MX-5s.
We've certainly watched a lot of these drivers and teams have difficulty navigating this very bumpy temporary circuit here at Coronado Naval Air Station. Very tight battle up front. Stephen McAleer, John Dean pressing him hard in the white 16 car. The 3rd spot, the driver development candidate, Elliott Skier, the Mazda Speed ladder driver. He is putting the heat on from 3rd spot down the backstretch.
The local hero is trying to get back into the lead, and he's only a couple tenths out in 3rd place. Anybody could win this race. I don't see a clear advantage.
It's been a battle of attrition from the start. We had 6 cars in the lead group early on. Now we're down to 3, and this one's going to be settled amongst these 3 drivers, I'm pretty certain.
I'm watching John Dean set up his car extra wide on the entries to go for a better exit. I think he's got a plan. We're going to see how that works. At the moment, it's not working, is it? McAleer has gotten out a little bit of a breathing room there, a little bit of a gap.
It shows you how fine the margin is, I think, in a place like this. One slip or one moment of being offline, and as we see, McAleer opening up a 3-car length advantage. Dean, though, with the draft, maybe with Skier helping him a little on the front straightaway, able to close back in.
Yeah, but you know what? Skier, I don't think, is going to think of Dean, trying to help Dean get to McAleer. I think Skier's just thinking about getting past Dean, but he might be able to use him.
Remember that Skier is running in front of the hometown fans as he takes a look at Dean, trying to see if he can scoot around him and pick up second spot.
He's going to have to explain all this to his mom and dad if he doesn't win. He's still living at home, 17 years old. Amazingly mature driver.
Mom and Dad brought a lot of family and friends here to watch the action today at Coronado Naval Air Station. A Replay XD onboard look from Stephen McAleer's machine on the backstretch.
This view is so realistic. It's giving us an idea of what the track looks like, and we can see the gaps. Look how it's opened up a little bit. Oh, and John Dean takes out one of the pylons, or cones, or barrels.
Yeah, knocking that barrel flying here as the field, the top 3 cars come back out of the front straightaway at Coronado Naval Air Station. Very grippy concrete surface, a lot of debris out there now because a lot of these drivers have gone offline, knocked a cone or 2 over.
Yeah, look at that. You can see the parts hanging underneath these lead MX-5s. That piece on the ground is probably one of those underside covers.
Down into turn number 1, lead group of 3 approaching some lap traffic now here in the waning moments of this one at the Coronado Naval Air Station. Championship fight in play here. Remember, McAleer's your points leader. Dean still has an opportunity. Elliott Skier in the top 5 in points as well. And with Darrell Mulcahy falling out of this race, this could jumble the points.
I'll tell you, the hair's standing up in the back of my neck. This traffic is going to be an issue. They're heading for the chicane, and they're right in the way of McAleer.
Brett Mosing up ahead there in the 10 car, about to go another lap down to the leaders. One of the Skip Barber Mazda Speed Pro Challenge entries, the red car you see in line as well. McAleer's going to have to fight his way around the traffic.
Wow, did you see the Skip Barber car move inside? I don't think he even knows McAleer's there. And now
John
Dean right on McAleer.
For the
traffic
lead.
An issue.
Elliott Skier with an opportunity as well. Lap cars definitely a factor here as they move over a bit. McAleer with the lead at the moment. Dean trying to shoulder by.
See, they just realized they were there. I think he's been running by himself for so long, he wasn't expecting anyone in his mirrors.
John Dean down the front straightaway. Your Replay XD onboard look coming to the start-finish line. May have an opportunity to move by and take the lead back.
Into the brake zone. He's going to go super late on those brakes, and he's into the lead. McAleer trying to get back under him in turn 2.
Drivers had seen the white flag as they came under the bridge last time by, so this is it. John Dean taking the lead going into turn number 1. Elliott Skier trying to move back and get back into contention here.
All about the traffic. The guys had to work through there. John Dean used it to his advantage.
Stephen McAleer had to give up the lead because of the lap traffic. Dean with a 1-car length advantage last time down the backstretch here at Coronado.
Here they go, and McAleer's going to do anything he can to get it back. They're into that chicane that changed the whole nature of this race.
Dean and McAleer 1-2. Skier is 3rd into the horseshoe final time.
McAleer set it up wide. He's trying to get a run.
John Dean with a 2-car length advantage now. Couple of corners left here in San Diego.
This last corner tracks out right to the wall. It's a hairy corner. McAleer's in position.
Stephen McAleer's going to try, and he
takes
does.
a shot.
Oh, he goes to the way inside, maybe offline. Dean recovers.
Skier may get him. Skier will get him for second.
John Dean is going to win. Elliott Skier with a good run off the final corner will steal second at the stripe.
What a finish. Oh, my gosh. McAleer gave it a shot. I love that.
He tried a different line, but it cost him on exit of the final corner.
You know what? He could have taken John Dean right out of this race, and he didn't. That was a great effort. Good racing in MX-5 Cup. John Dean, you earned it. You deserve to be number 1.
Welcome back to Coronado Naval Air Station, the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup. John Dean in victory lane. Here's Stacey Pace.
You had told me just before the race you were so disappointed that you weren't on the pole at the start of this, but you were able to pull it out. Your first thoughts now coming into victory lane?
I remember telling you that I wanted you to be my umbrella girl, actually.
That's the part you remember.
That was a difficult race. I'm exhausted. Great race by these guys. I was just kind of staying in second and just hoping to make it through the line. It's so hot out there today, and the track was brutal.
Tell us about that last move that you made on Stephen McAleer.
We got caught in traffic. I knew how to go through. He got a little sideways. I had a run coming on the straight, and I don't know what happened on the last lap, but I see Skier get a run on McAleer there, and that makes me happy, obviously, for him to beat him. That's more points away from him, but I'm happy, man.
You've had a challenging season, a tough one. This being probably the toughest track you will see all season long. In what ways does this win gratify your position right now?
I'm just here to win races. Where's my love? I got to get some love.
Victor spoils.
Yeah. A win is not enough. He's got to get extra love from the ladies, from the Playboy ladies.
Thanks.
He's back in the hunt.
He is. That victory puts John Dean in a situation where he can claim the championship, perhaps at Road Atlanta. Elliott Skier with a great run at the end is second over McAleer. Sparks. Tim Probert finishes fifth. That might be a career best for Tim. Good to see that. Aaron Mulcahy back in 12th behind Connor DeFilippi. Some of the drivers not around at the checkered flag. Ken Koch takes the honors in the Skip Barber Mazda Speed Pro Challenge category. A dominant run. Here's your runner-up.
What did this race, in terms of goals that you set, what did this race meet?
First off, home race, so I got to thank Mazda for helping put this on. They did most of the work for this, so I'm really glad that they did this, a home race for me and a home race for them. They did everything to get this, and they got me here through the whole scholarship program, so I got to give a big thanks to them first. Being a home race, had the whole family out, so it was pretty fun to race against them. Sleeping in my own bed at night is always a great feeling too. So, yeah, we were strong. I think we were just strong enough to hang on. There wasn't really much I could do with it. I just couldn't get the run out of the corners they were getting. So, second place, I got to be happy with that. That's, right where we started. So it was all good.
Good job for that 17-year-old. You can see he's a little shy with those Playboy bunnies.
Stephen McAleer now with a 32-point advantage, but John Dean to second, still with 2 races to go. Our third place finisher, Stephen McAleer, still out front.
You talk about being happy. That's a positive thing, coming in not in first place, which is, of course, always what you want to do. What makes you happy about this finish?
Because we obviously got a lot of points. We are championship leader. We want to continue being championship leader. 5 points for pole was obviously super important this weekend. So I think John maybe Crow was like 1 or 2 points back. A little bit disappointed in the 62 Skip Barber car there. I mean, he pointed me past coming through the chicane, never gave me it. And then when we come through the hairpin, he actually pulled to the right-hand side and blocked. So we lost the lead on the last lap.
Describe the camaraderie, because you lost that lead in the last lap to John Dean, who you're just talking to. Obviously, both of you are trying to win a championship, but in what ways do you guys support each other's drivers?
Because we ran clean. We ran hard. I mean, it was a tough race, and unfortunately, there was a Skippy car wasted at the end there. But congratulations to John. I mean, he was in the mix here. We definitely had the win today, and third place is as good as we got, so we'll take it.
Stephen McAleer understands the big picture. He may end up as our champion and earn that next step up the Mazda Speed driver development ladder. We'll find out in a few weeks when we get to Road Atlanta to wrap up the 2012 Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup season. For Randy Pobst and Stacy Pates, I'm Rick Benjamin, congratulating your winner, John Dean. Thanks for watching the Mazda Motorsports Hour.